lettuce. So it is not your day. You are have stormed back to your well-walled room, slamming the door angrily behind you.
What? Where
In
are we?
your kind of castle suite of
Ah,
your your family's home. Um, your father has just told you he is sending you away. Um, you never liked the man. He's certainly a man. Um, and notably, he is very harsh in a way. He does things. You know, when someone is acting like they have your best interests in mind, but they very obviously have secondary motives if you know them at all.
yes.
You don't know quite what it is, but that part really stuck with you and ground your gears. So now you are in your room, lighted with electricity, a small light bulb, one of those like really long vacuum tube ones, um, kind of is hanging in a half chandelier overhead. A radio sits on your bedstand. Luxuries that are uncommon in most households. Properly printed books should on your sit on your shit on your shelves. Yes, sit on your shelves.
I
Um,
have a shit shelf. Damn.
it's where you put all your crap. Um,
I.
that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Um, and um, with like properly browned, you know, like those old cloth cover books that are like properly printed and bound with an old typing press. Um, kind of sit on your shelf. Various lamps around the place. And even a light switch, the electricity, the wires of which were obviously put there after the building was built. You know how like some of those older buildings they have like the wires kind of tucked visibly like in a little pipe almost. I don't know what else to call that. Over to whatever it's powering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. It's painted over, so it's the same color of the walls. Um, it's a nice summer day. Your balcony is open, a gentle breeze sweeping through, and as I said, you are very mad. Please describe your character.
Uh, describe my character. I am a bitch. Hold on. Uh, I'm a young adult. I am a short-ish girl. No, I'm short. With long, flowing red hair. Um, I'm wearing a tunic made from a coat made from 12 yards of linen. Sorry. No, I'm wearing a not too fancy, but also like not cheap looking. Just good fabric. Yellow tunic, yeah.
Okay, and what are you doing?
Sulking.
as you kind of sulk around your room, stomping about, angry at this decision that was made without your approval. Um, you hear a small, "Hey, yep," and as you
Where is it coming from?
the balcony.
I shut the door. Like I slam it shut without
uh,
saying another word.
roll me. Let's do. Oh, what would be a good speed one? Acrobatics, we'll say.
Uh, I have a +5.
You rolled a
I
4.
rolled a 4.
So, you make it as you kind of rush
Shouldn't there be a
towards.
counter roll?
Okay, fair. She does have +5 in this though. Actually, no,
So do I.
she's proficient. Hold on,
So, okay.
hold on. Oops, oops. Give me a second.
Did you not stat her?
I did somewhere. Don't worry about it. So that's.
I know those noises. You can't lie to me.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Um. Oh, fuck. Where is it? There it is. Okay. She has +7 to this, so chunk. Yes. Okay. Um. So as you kind of like rush to slam the door in her face, you kind of hear a whoop, and just out of your line of vision, you hear a kind of tumbling roll. Um. As a girl kind of more or less throws herself through your window, managing to slide right between your legs and fall on her ass on the other side of you as you aggressively shut the window.
If I shanked you right now, legally no one could charge me with anything.
Legally, but emotionally, you'd miss me. She kind of stands, dusts
You're
herself off.
are you willing to put that assumption to the test?
Um, so she's wearing like a brown pants, some boots, a kind of rougher looking green tunic with a brown belt around her, white sleeves, um, and carefully created glasses with a red painted wooden frame. Um, she kind of looks you in the eyes and gives you a smirk. I mean, I'm better at betting than you are.
Say that again, please.
I'm better at betting than you are.
What does that have to do with that?
You don't look like you're doing so well.
You're not helping.
She kind of mockingly like crouches down, puts one of her legs over her knee, and like pretends like she's sitting at an invisible desk. The amount of core strength she must have to do that, you don't want to think about immediately because that makes you feel pretty gay. Um, and she kind of smirks at you with kind of a cat-like look. I mean, I thought I was here to make it better.
Can you do me a favor?
If you're gonna say leave, the answer is no.
Get into a horrific accident.
Can do, princess. I'll drag you with me. And she kind of winks before, like, kind of standing upright, walking
What do you
over to
want?
you and giving you a hug just as you finish speaking. She kind of pulls you into a hug.
I am stiff as a board. I am not moving.
I heard what your dad said. So they're shipping you off?
I'm guessing you knew before I did.
I mean, I just followed the sounds of the screaming. Do you know when you're leaving?
I didn't listen past the cliff notes, so no. Probably soon.
Yeah, I overheard Kaji talking about picking you up tomorrow morning. Are you going to be okay?
Define okay.
So, no.
You didn't answer my question.
She kind of strokes her hand down your back in a casual intimacy gesture that isn't necessarily uncommon from the pest that keeps sneaking into your window at night.
I very carefully pick up her arm and put it away from my back. Please don't.
Sorry. So how do you want to do?
What?
How do you want to spend your last night here? I mean, I can't exactly stop what's going on, but I can make you feel better. This place kind of sucks anyway. She gives you a small smile.
Personally, I was thinking about, I don't know, sleeping?
She gives you kind of a blank stare for a second. Damn, you mean like together?
I punch her. Hold on, that's
Yeah,
probably an unarmed attack.
yeah. Roll me an unarmed attack.
So strength plus proficiency. Okay. Or 20 plus 5. Does a 17 hit?
Surprisingly, yes, she is unarmored right now.
Okay, hold on. 4 damage! I sock her in the face!
um, she kind of recoils back, her glasses, uh, kind of tattering off onto the floor, and she's like clutching her nose for a second, and she's just like, "Oh, okay, I deserved that." And she kind of squinting gets on the floor, kind of tapping around for her glasses.
I pick up her glasses and hand them to her.
Thanks, Princess. You're a lifesaver. She kind of winks as she puts them on.
I can punch you again.
Prefer you didn't.
I don't know. Whatever.
They said you're going to Dritte Osberg?
Yeah. That's about right. It's not
Well,
really that I don't as much mind that I'm going, it's more so that I can tell it's not about me. Not directly.
it did seem kind of suspicious. I mean, who sends a girl off on their own? Well, I guess Kaji's gonna be with you, but he doesn't count.
I don't know what that. Okay, I don't care. I don't care enough to argue this point with you.
So, how about I help you pack up your things, okay?
And if I'd rather be alone,
Then I'd tell you it's the least you could do after punching me in the face. She's already kind of standing up, starting to root through a few of your drawers,
I
grabbing some clothing and setting them aside in a trunk that's already been prepared for you at the foot of your bed.
I don't I'm choose not to question why you know where all of my things are.
I've been in your room before.
Uh huh. That doesn't tell me why you instinctively know where my underwear is. No, it absolutely tells me, and I should sock you in the face again. But honestly, I don't really have the energy.
Don't worry, princess. Your loyal knight is here to serve you. And she kind of stands up stiffly and does a stiff mock salute. Um,
I know, like I said, this day keeps getting worse.
um, as she kind of helps you pack, time ticks on. And much against your insistences and even threats to call the guard, you can't really stop her from um, choosing to sleep in your room that night. She sits on a chair by the window, a nice big like lounge chair in a gaudy green print with fleur de lis kind of embroidered into it. A very expensive looking chair. That's one thing that your family is very used to, a sense of opulence that n- needs to be there or not. It's more for appearances than anything. Um,
It's a sort of martial opulence, then.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, and when you awaken the next morning, just before the light of dawn, she's gone. Honestly, you didn't even really get the chance to say goodbye to her. Um, what is going through your head right
Uh, Not a lot. I just kind of feel empty, sad, and I don't want to acknowledge it.
now? Yeah. As you are kind of sitting, um, the a knock comes at your door, and gently it opens, and Kaji is standing there, a man in full he's wearing kind of a full armor set, a lighter armor than most. He's mainly aiming to protect the most important
Vital.
areas of
Yeah.
his body. But otherwise, a thin leather kind of sheen of his gloves is before you. Um,
I give him a very tired smile. Come to take me to my execution?
no, not quite yet. Come, it's time to go. Have you packed everything?
No, but everything is packed.
He looks confused.
Forget it.
Kind of looks at you, just nods for a second, um, and um, picks it up. It's kind of a heavy suitcase. Mari really did fit as much as she could in there, and goes out with you, bringing it into a small carriage, um, going over a map um, that he has in his hands of the continent. Notably, the map shows major roadways, travels, major cities. He's drawn a line out in a red pen to where you guys are going. But also marked along the way are several checkpoints of sorts um, that are like oases or other sources of magical energy in the wilds that people can rest if they get stuck out overnight. Um, he's seemingly carefully planned this to take a very direct route while also remaining somewhat off the most traveled paths. Um, and
Afraid of ambushes?
the ambushes aren't what I'm worried about. Most direct tracks typically have bandits along them, and your father would like this trip to be as discreet as possible. Kind of running his finger over the map. Are
Because
you?
that's not suspicious.
Hey, you're from a big family. It's a wonder we don't have train tracks out here already. I suppose we're kind of near the edge of the world.
Eh.
So he kind of um, does his final checks. Um, make
Can I
sure.
search the carriage just for
Sure,
anything that shouldn't be there?
sure. Roll me an
Investigation?
investigation check. Yeah. Sorry.
13.
Um, as you kind of flick through everything, you see that he's brought a fair amount of food, some gold to offer as a um like to live off of while in this new place, get everything settled legal wise. Um, he's brought his weapon, but other than that, there's nothing that really strikes you as out of the ordinary with this. The only thing that you see that really gives you any kind of cause to like pause is you notice some bullet casings in there. They're uncommon.
Expended?
Uh, sorry, say again.
Expended?
No. Sorry.
Then they're
They're
just bullets.
yeah. Sorry. Um,
Sorry.
the
Just wanted to fly.
you're good. Um, the main reason that stands out to you is you've mainly seen Kaji wielding a spear or a long sword, or sorry, a short sword. Um, but you haven't really seen him use bullets before, but you are aware that they are regularly beginning to be used and at least trained with less expensive reusable rounds created through magic. Um, uh, in your courtyard, you're used to the sound of gunfire from training um, that some members of the bodyguard for your family do.
Yep.
As you set out, um, you have a rather boring journey, all things considered. It's a lot of sitting, looking at the fields troll by as your horses graze. Roll me perception.
I'm not great at this. 5.
um, the main thing you really see are just the cows in the field. There's nothing of interest. You're bored to tears, in all honesty. Um, and finally, at the end of the second night, you begin to settle down and rest. Kaji begins setting up the camp, gently setting the tent into place, setting some food aside. And this particular checkpoint is a um, an oasis with very unnatural marble steps laden around it, um, but very natural pillars from the rocks around it, along with some epitaphs, supposedly. This was a memorial of some point, but the magical energy is refreshing after being out for so long. The main thing that really strikes you is you just wish that there was a good place to take a shower, uh, or some other forms of luxury you're a bit more used to having than pretty much most people would be. Is there anything you would like to do at the camp?
Uh, what do I have with me?
You have a few books that Mari packed for you. Um, you have including a notebook that's fairly small, but there's a charcoal pencil of sorts tucked away um, for you to use as you please.
Okay. I am going to start a diary,
Awesome.
and I'm gonna make bad sketches of just what I'm seeing.
Okay.
So just
Mm, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just gonna vaguely draw the outlines of like the mountains and like things like that.
Roll me
I don't know if there was a roll
sleight of
associated to that.
hand.
Okay. 12. I'm not
Um,
rolling well.
it's fine. No one has been. You're level 3. It's fine. Um, as you're kind of sketching along the mountains in the background, it looks pretty decent. Not anything close to what you've seen others do, but as someone who was not particularly an artist, your forced foray into drawing looks fairly good, fairly controlled. Like you can definitely tell what everything is. You even try doing some vague shading to indicate, colors, depth. And it's not perfect, but it still looks quite good. Um, Kaji finishes setting the fire and kind of has a plate of food, like a stew of some sort, in his hand, and he sits down, gently passes it to you. Meat, potatoes, carrots. A good traveling food. Easy to make, not a lot of work.
So,
Are you missing home already?
up quiet. Just thinking.
Oh, yeah? Kind of takes a sip of his soup.
To be honest, I wasn't exactly listening when I was told that I would be going. So I don't really know what what's waiting for me there or what I'm supposed to be doing there.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see how that's a bit of a problem. And he takes another sip of his soup. Well, officially, kind of breaks some bread in his hand, passes you half of it. You're heading as part of an exchange with the country, with Ditre Ostberg. You're being offered as a service to the city in hopes for good favor. But unofficially,
He
he
wants the estate.
he kind of doesn't say anything, but from his expression and The way he moves his head, it's obvious he thinks you're right. He's just not willing to say it out loud.
Who'd have thunk it? It's fine.
We're in a state at the arm that's starting to move into the border. I'm not surprised your dad is a bit grabsy for anything. But I'm actually the one that pitched this to him.
So I'm supposed to thank you?
Not quite. I know this isn't what you wanted, but your father is a man of many aspects. I'm sure you know that much. He originally just wanted to do away with you entirely, no matter what the means. I'm the one that convinced him to send you to Ostberg instead.
I'm not sure how that's supposed to make me feel.
Well, considering your dad's a bloodthirsty person, at very least, consider it like this, Asuka. The world you've lived in is much bigger than you've ever experienced. You've never really been outside of your town, have you?
No offense, I don't think there's anything you could say or do that could distract me from the fact that my dad basically wants me just gone and dead if I have to.
You're right. And I'm not gonna
I
detract from that.
look. I'm not in the mood to look at the positives here. I'll take them, but I don't want to talk about them.
This is a chance for new beginnings.
What did I just say?
He kind of pats your back really, like, pretty roughly.
Ow.
Sorry. Listen, I won't talk about it any more than that, but just try to keep that in mind, okay, kiddo?
I'll hold you to those words.
You better. Kind of ruffles your hair a little bit.
Please.
Roll me, perception again.
Uh,
Oh,
19.
19. Okay. Um, as the kind of night drags on, there's a bit more awkward conversation between the two of you. Um, until um, you end up starting to fall asleep, curled in a bedroll, um, kind of itchy, uncomfortable on the ground for your taste, but in a way, kind of liberating, being away from some of the pressures of the places you were, even if they're not a conscious thought in your mind. Um, when you start to, as your eyes begin to flutter and close, the movements in the shadows of the dying fire. But sleep takes you, and play it off as just a trick of the lights. You're awakened the next morning by Kaji shaking you. A hard shake, fully armored, spear in hand, as he kind of is looking not at you, but at the entrance to the campsite.
What's up?
Rats.
Rats.
Giant ones. I think they came from the forest. They probably smelled the meat we were cooking. And lo and behold, you hear chittering, almost laughter, like a hyena, but much more sharp, pointed. And as you kind of rise out of your bed on the corners of the camp where you had originally seen those flickering lights, you spot them. A pack of about 6 giant rats um, sitting in front of you, kind of circling the camp. Get your weapon. Come on, up, up.
Yeah.
And as you ready yourself, we are gonna roll initiative.
13
Okay, Kaji rolled below you, surprisingly. Oh,
rats.
it's your dex plus a d20, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Kaji has the higher dex, so let me figure out how to make a turn order thing really quickly. How do you make a
Why
turn
are they
order thing?
eradicates? Just a question.
Because they look like good rats. You?
Why might that be?
Uh, because they're rats. Also, you're a, how
What are you
make
trying to do?
roll turn order?
All right. In the you should see a time thing like on your left thing, top left,
Ah, okay, cool.
and then in your settings you can add things and set them by. You have to add the things first and then give them their yeah.
Ah,
Just rats.
it's got a 12. Yes.
Uh,
Kaji got. So sending. Oops. Decent. There we go. Okay.
why is his 12.1?
Cause he had got a 12, but he has the higher dex modifier, so he goes
You can
first.
just so you can slide them around as well. By the way,
Ah,
just
okay.
drag and drop them.
It's fine for now. Um. All right. Let me get some music really quickly, just so we have something.
Woohoo! Do you need help?
I'm just gonna go with this. I have not listened to it. We're gonna find out together what it sounds like.
Do you need help?
I got it. Alrighty. So, Asuka, you move first.
What have I got? Let's see.
Scale this
How
probably.
high are these?
This cliff is about 15 feet up, we'll say.
Climbing it would be athletics, eh?
Uh, yes.
I'm gonna try to climb up here.
This
So that's
is
an athletic.
through, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, so that's athletics.
Hmm.
18.
Awesome. That
Is that enough?
is yes, that is enough.
Okay.
That is, however, I believe your movement. Yeah.
No.
That's no, that's all of your movement because you moved
Oh, yeah.
10 feet there and then 5 feet onto the thing and 1 foot there. Yeah.
And I'm gonna attack if I can.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Let's look something up. Shit. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna smack it, stab it with the spear.
Go ahead. That hits. Roll me damage.
11 damage.
Okay. How would you like to kill it? Well, to describe to me what you're doing.
I'm climbing up. I'm sort of forking it, like with the. You know how you ever piled like leaves up?
Yeah.
Basically, I'm impaling it and then yeeting it behind me off the cliff.
Okay. You hear a pained shriek from the rat as it is stabbed fatally, and you toss its lifeless body behind you near the oasis. That rat is dead. Kaji is next. He is going to move straight into the fray, charging forward with his spear in hand, and you see him kind of twirl his spear to stab and strike one. So he's
Giving
making
me a bad idea.
2 attacks. That hits. That actually does not kill the rat. The other one also hits. So you see him make this strike. One, he bats a rat quite hard up against the rocks with the backside of his spear, and the other one kind of goes back and stabs quite similarly to what you just did into the rat over here.
Do you know how to advance the turn order?
I'm assuming it's this button.
Yeah.
But now it is the rat's turn. This rat is not looking so hot, and it is not happy with the fact that Kaji just kind of killed its friend. So it is going to take a this one is going to move up and take a bite at Kaji, which means that it has advantage on its attack roll. Hold on.
I'm getting a bad idea here.
10-2.
I have an idea. The only person worse than the fighter to say that is the sorcerer, because the sorcerer is always going to blow something up. The idea is always fireball.
He misses completely. Fuck. It kind of like goes in for like a bite for Kaji, but he definitely kind of backpedals back a little bit just out of the way. And the one next to him also. Oh, actually, it had advantage. Okay.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. So the other rat is also going to come in for some bites on Kaji's ankles. Their little ankle. Oh.
Oh.
Okay. And this is the one that is not doing so hot, and it is angry about it. Um, uh,
That was a bad idea.
it manages to hit just in the chink of Kaji's armor, where and like bite his Achilles directly into his ankle. Oh, ow. Okay. It does a total of 12 damage to this poor man. And you see him kind of buckle under the weight of the strike. He doesn't look particularly hurt, but it looks like it damaged him enough to where he will have to get up.
Okay.
Meanwhile, these rats are just gonna start kind of using their small speed to their advantage, or their small stature, and
Perfect.
start scrambling over this towards you.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
How stable is this rock bridge?
It looks like it would be able to support you, but if it took any major
good.
impacts, then it would probably crumble.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna yell to Kaji. Kaji, I got an idea! Just disengage! Get out of there!
It's
Just trust me!
kind of busy here. And he
Get out of there!
okay.
He can take a disengage action. I'm gonna move up here. I'm gonna hold my action until he gets out of there, disengages.
Kaji kind of sees where you're going with this. Looks at the two rats, almost sighs to himself, and he's going to.
If he takes a disengage action, he doesn't incur attack of opportunity.
Yeah, I know. He also has. You can do that as a bonus action. Just trying to figure out where the fuck.
Where the fuck?
Hey, I know it's something he can do. So it's cunning action. Isn't it? Okay. He kind of sighs quietly, and first stabs at the
Aw.
one rat that he already injured, killing it, and then kind of looking at the other rat, disengaging back to
Where he started.
yeah, where he started.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit it with, like, I'm just sort of, I'm gonna Gandalf my spear on the bridge. This is a
Sure.
static object, so I don't really have to roll the hit. I just gotta roll damage. 10.
That
Should be enough if it's thin enough.
no, it's kind like when I say it's enough that a heavy strike would impact it, I'm talking like you would need a like if a something with like a cannonball hit it, or like if it
Well, okay, heavy. That okay.
sorry, I should have specified.
When you
Or,
said
like,
heavy strike, I thought you meant when I make a heavy strike.
sorry, that's my fault. But it is enough for the stone under you to crack. Hold on.
Damn it.
Hold
How much hit points would it have? Hold on.
on. Kaji kind of sensing what you're doing, because his turn is next, takes his own spear and tosses it as hard as he can into the rocks on the other side.
You already taken action?
Sorry, he has 2 attacks, but it is. Do you still have something you want to do? I'm so sorry. That's my fault.
Only thing I could think to do is try to like uh, jump really hard with all my strength.
Um, we'll say that since Kaji has had another attack yet, he was holding it, and when he sees you strike the other side, he takes his spear and tosses it into the stone on the other side, equally impacting. I guess I'll roll for damage on this too. You actually did more damage. It kind of impacts the other side, and you see it also begin to crumble. Before the rats, kind of looking a little panicked at their ground below them suddenly shifting, fall and take. We'll say
15 feet of damage isn't too much.
2d4
Yeah.
bludgeoning damage here. 5 points of damage. And now these rats are on the ground below, and they do not look happy about it. I will still let you take any remaining movement if you wish.
I'm gonna stand up here because I want to crush the rocks on them.
They were above the rocks. They were on the rocks.
Okay, so they fell off. I want to crush. I want to drop the fucking ceiling on their heads. That's what I want to do.
They were on top of the rocks.
I know they would have fallen with it,
Yes, that's what happened.
and now they're below it. And now I
Yes.
want to drop the ceiling on them.
No. Okay, hold on. Let me go back. With Kaji's combined strike and yours,
Oh,
the
now they
rocks. Yes, the rocks crumbled, and the rats fell.
crumble.
Which is why they
Wouldn't
took damage.
this one take some damage?
He's not.
And in
he's-
reality, it's above here. 'Cause that's where the shadow is.
Sure, that one will also take the damage from the rocks. Okay, that one gets smothered by the rocks, we'll say. And, whoa, not that. Fuck. Gets smushed under the pile, and you just hear its dying squeak.
Yeah.
So, with the rats heavily damaged, Kaji's just gonna, from a small pouch he had as his side that you weren't really sure what it was, he pulls out a small pistol. And you hear the familiar sound of gunfire as he fires 2 shots at the rats, still left kind of squirming, trying to get their feet back after they fell, injured, broke a few ribs. Both of those hit. I should have balanced this separately. And with a very true strike, both of the rats explode into blood. A kind of reddening sight as the rocks kind of break around it. Or, sorry, get splattered with blood. That's what I meant. And you are out of combat.
Huh.
The Kaji kind of sits there huffing slightly, goes over, picks up his spear, turns to you. Are you alright?
I'm fine. I didn't get hurt.
Those little idiots. They probably smelled the stew we cooked last night. Scavengers. I feel like there's been a lot more rats recently. We've been fighting them near the castle grounds, too.
Uh, mm,
Kinda,
maybe they run out of natural predators.
maybe. Haven't seen as many wolves on our hunting trips either, I suppose. Kinda thinks for a moment, like visibly it crosses his face that he's thinking. But eventually he just kind of waves his hand, dismissing the thought. Come on, we lost a significant amount of daylight. Let's get the camp packed up, and we're gonna have to take the long way around now to get out of here.
You
And
could have woken me earlier.
well, I didn't know there was anything we had to do earlier.
That's on you.
Guess it is. I am your retainer after all. My lady, he offers you a hand, kind of guiding you back to camp.
Eh.
Um, as you and him pack up, you get going, and within the next day or two, um, you're in town. It's honestly a sight of wonder. Certainly a something you weren't necessarily expecting. Tall buildings with sloped roofs, small ceramic kind of tiles holding it up, with dark paint covering most roofs, but a beautiful red and pale kind of on the walling and the floors. Ornate windows are a common occurrence, some made of metal, some wood. Um, and as you kind of wander through the town, and come to Dritte Ostberg's monastery. In the center, it honestly could bring a tear to your eye. Now, you have a mana tree that's fairly old in your hometown, but this is magnificent. Its its bark is thick enough to put you sideways on it in its own right. But the branches of this magnificent tree cover the entirety of the city. It's not a small town either. There's um, electricity in pretty much all houses. There's warm and cold water drawn with sigils with perfect care. There's even things like proper restaurants with stoves and ovens using electricity to cook these beautiful machinations. And it seems most of the soldiers here guarding the city are equipped with actual firearms instead of the um, more traditional weaponry, such as spears, that you're a little bit more used to. They have
Who
these blue uniforms with gray, kind of gray and gold trim, um, and the city is yours. You still have a day before you are expected.
who owns the land?
The land is owned by oh brain. The Fyodorovics. Um, they are kind of the barons of your own land as well. Or rather, you are the barons of their land. Uh, you have a royal title bestowed upon your family by the Fyodorovics, but it's no secret that your father was not really a fan of the amount of power your family had lost over the years, um, and pull and government say as the Fyodorovics in the recent generations have really risen to power.
Centralization.
Yes. So roll me insight.
Insight. I'm not good at this, like most other things. 12.
It's not bad. Um, your father is not a fan of the Fyodorovics. So you sit there. Am I pronouncing that right, by the way?
Fyodorovich. Which.
Each.
The IC is a ch.
Okay,
Because it's Slavic.
thank you. Um, the it doesn't seem quite like your father to send you away to them to do them a favor. So in your mind, there's almost no question that he has some form of ulterior motive. You're just not sure what it is.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is there anything you would like to do in town?
I am going to look for a uh hmm. I would like to look for what am I interested in? I'm
One
not
of
really
the
interested in
things that
yeah.
catch your eye is a public bath. You have been in the wilds for almost, not quite a week, more like 3 to 5 days. And you are used to having the option to take a shower every day.
I'm honestly more hungry for something that wasn't cooked by preserved ingredients over a campfire.
Okay. Um, so, fun.
Right?
I'm trying to imagine this in my head. Give me a minute. Um, any particular.
Probably the so I'm probably going to be looking for one that's closest to mm, the sort of governmental districts.
Okay. Um, the governmental district isn't too hard to find. There's a big opulent palace, kind of reminiscent of a Roman temple, kind of situated not far from the monastery, which is where a lot of commerce sits in this district. There's kind of a circular ring that's been formed. Of buildings around the base of the monastery where people do wares. It's the marketplace, more or less. There are people selling fruits. There are people selling books. There are people selling pastries. There's just about everything under the sun here. But one thing that catches your eye is a restaurant named the Broth and Boil near the. So if the palace is 12 o'clock, this is kind of at 2. Um,
To
so
the right of it, then.
yes, it has a much more traditional Japanese styled exterior with thin um, screen walls and a sliding door with made of bamboo. Um, the windows strike you a bit more European in design. They're metal, barred with the beautiful metalwork kind of forming a uh, small flower. And this shop, you can tell, even is prosperous enough to have a glowing sign made with the
Whoa, you're
wonders of the
cutting
world.
out.
Ah, shit.
You're back.
Okay. Well, what was the last thing I heard?
I don't remember.
Okay. Glowing sign, wonders of electricity indicating that they are open.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Uh,
that's
Um,
that's.
which
I'm gonna help you out.
honestly is enough on its own to kind of describe to catch your eye with this place.
Yeah. I'm gonna help you out.
Yes. Uh, fair enough.
Sorry.
Um, as you kind of enter this beautiful kind of ornate thing, the wooden floors strike you as incredibly smooth. It looks like a very light wood, not one that you're particularly familiar with seeing around your personal hometown.
Can I touch the floor?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna look like a weirdo, but I'm gonna touch the floor.
Make me a um nature check. I assume you're trying to discern the type of wood.
3.
uh Birch, maybe? You have no idea. It looks like it has very thin, fine grains, but this is not a wood that you are personally very familiar with. It's definitely eye-catching. It looks very fancy to you. Someone has even gone through the trouble of delicately carving with darker strips of a wood you do recognize, oak, um, into the floor, a tile to accentuate um, parts of the floor. It's also covered in a thin um, linoleum almost substance. It's covered in a small, thin, kind of hard substance to protect it from spills, from messes, which, as you can see from the lively patrons, seems like it's needed. As there's a couple places to sit. There's places directly in front of a grill that is kind of inlaid into the table. There's pots on the floor for people to gather around, and there's kind of a bar-ish section separated by a thin shoji screen kind of on the sides to frame it. Where would you like to
Sorry.
sit?
1 sec. I'm gonna just sit at the bar. Is that an option?
Okay, yep, that is an option. So, as you, how old is Asuka at this point?
19,
19.
20.
Okay, she is old enough to drink. Cool. So as you kind of sit at the bar, a barkeep with darker skin, not quite black, but definitely mixed race, I would say. Kind of comes over and greets you. He has this white, not really a tunic, but a top with long sleeves. He's brushing a glass clean in his hands. How can I help you? Uh,
Um, Uh,
Kaji kind of perks up next to you. Whiskey on the rocks, please. And he'll kind of take a seat at the bar stool next to you. It's actually being held up by metal supports, a nice cushion kind of under it. It's almost an odd contrast, if not for the coloring, um, to the rest
do
of
you
the restaurant.
do you have any wines?
Wines. Yeah, shit got a few. What you looking for? Rosés, Moscatos. Uh,
Something sweeter.
Moscato it is. He kind of slides back behind a door going into a cellar. Comes out with a bottle of a pinkish substance. Um, it looks like it could be the glass of the bottle that makes it look like that, but you're not quite sure until he uncorks it and begins pouring it into a wine glass for you. The wine itself is a nice white color, um, and it tastes delicious. It's almost like just fizzy grape juice. It's very hard to taste the alcohol in it. Um,
Yeah.
and Kaji is kind of sipping his whiskey next to you, kind of side-eyeing you, double-checking you're okay after the events throughout your trip and the stresses of coming here.
I feel like he was more affected by the battle than I was. Like, he got
He's
bit. I just, like, got a bit of blood on my shoe.
he's honestly being. You've noticed him being overprotective on this trip in general. He seems very worried about you. Being away from home and in such a different environment for the first time. The waiter brings you over a menu, which Kaji quickly scans and orders you both. Some food. So he himself orders a ramen with more things like beef that's been stewed in a thick, creamy sauce. And for you, he orders. It's kind of an equivalent of schnitzel and spätzle, but instead of the, I believe it's the spätzle part of it. There's a kind of like soba noodles underneath it, very savory, kind of have a sweet tinge. Noodles that are very hearty. Um, Covered in a nice mushroom sauce with a, like I said, the
Spitzle.
Thank you. Um, that is meal he has ordered for you.
Any particular reason I can't order for myself?
I just thought you wouldn't know what to order with all of these options. AKA the DM didn't want to have to come up with more than two menu options.
I can take care of myself. I can find my way around a menu at the very least.
Kind of closes.
Not asking you to let me go off to war on my own, but
He kind of closes his eyes and kicks back the last of his whiskey, kind of silently flagging down the barkeep for another one. No, no. I know you can handle yourself, Asuka. Don't worry. It's just... He kind of takes a moment as the barkeep refills his whiskey, picking it up, kind of sloshing it around. Being a kid isn't a role you'll have forever. It's better to experience what you can, when you can.
I know you're trying to teach me a life lesson here, but like, I don't particularly think it's working.
takes back some more whiskey. Fair enough. He kind of raises the glass. Then let's toast to,
Too.
well, to adulthood, to leaving the things we know behind.
Can't we just toast to good health instead?
Fair enough. He gently.
Or if you want, to those rats that bit you. You might want to get that looked at, by the way. I don't
I've
think
had worse.
that's it. So what I'm saying is that rat mouths aren't exactly hygienic. I
um,
don't think you want a gangrenous foot.
I'll be fine, Asuka. I already treated it with a salve. Um,
Okay, but you're like in a huge city. What's the harm?
True enough. Alright then. He kind of finishes kicking back the last of his whiskey. Let's finish up here. Then we'll head out and I'll get a doctor checked out. And we'll head
I'm
to the
done.
palace.
I'm waiting on you.
He kind of looks at his own half-eaten ramen. It isn't long before Kaji finishes as well, and you two head to a doctor, and who gives him a clean bill of health, and quickly after, you set to the palace. As you enter, it's kind of a boisterous noise, especially during this time of day. Some just finishing up their works, others hurrying to get the last few things that they need to get done with official paperwork in to the house. And he kind of guides you through the crowd and into the royal chamber. It's a much different vibe outside of the main lobby. It's more quiet reverence. It's not too akin from a temple that the architecture reminds you of. And they're seated with a gold olive crown. You see the king. Not an old man, but not exactly young either. An old man named Storm, or rather, the name he goes by. In front of you, kind of stands, and in a hearty handshake gives Kaji a welcome. Almost not ignoring you, but definitely acknowledging Kaji first, as if they've met before. Kaji, it's good to see you. You as well, General. Please, I don't like any of those royal titles. You're a friend, aren't you? I suppose. The messenger should have already been here a few days ago, but yes, I remember. I've made all of the preparations. General Katsuragi will be here very shortly. I've already sent for her as soon as I heard of your arrival in the city.
So, when am I being executed?
I think you hear a small laugh from his son behind, just out of view, coming off the other side of the chair. Not like he was hiding, but more like he was just doing something behind the curtain, if that makes sense. Comes out. I mean, if you want to be killed, I'll do it to you myself, but I kind of prefer it when you're alive more.
Who said that?
Alex.
Do I know him?
Yes. It was a long time ago, but there was a time when you were living in not the capital, but a small hamlet just offwards, before Storm properly rose to power after his father's passing before him, or his mother's, sorry. And you two were childhood friends. Not.
Uh, I had him I take the knife out of my pack and I give it to him. Okay. Just through the neck, probably be faster.
Probably. But I'd miss you. He kind of wraps his arms around you in a hug, whether you like it or not, because that's the kind of people Asuka keeps around her.
Why?
And slides the knife back into its small sheath in one swift motion.
You're all too physical.
Yeah, well, you're used to it.
That's literally the problem!
As you're socializing, you see a purple-headed woman, with small, kind of, how do I phrase this? Her hair is a purple color and amethyst that almost shines slightly. And it reminds you of a stone, to be honest, with how beautiful, comes in. And you also recognize immediately, General Katsuragi. She has raised you somewhat and was the one who started you on your path, down being a warrior and a knight. She trained both you and Alex for a period of time, as well as had a long-standing, she was trained somewhat alongside Alex's older sister, who was slated to become, the next queen, should she so wish. Oh, did I miss the teary reunion already? She kind of stiffens herself up, adjusts her clothing. Sorry, I was training the new guy in the yard. You wouldn't have happened to see him yet, have you?
There are about 50,000 people in this city. You have any idea how... Never mind.
I'm gonna take that as a no, then. Alex, can you go fetch him for me? He just kind of nods, wanders off. Storm, on the other hand, seems to have kind of pulled Kaji aside, and you see Misato give them a wayward glance out of the corner of her eye, as as he kind of whisper, very quietly to each other, something important, something secret being discussed.
Can I... Can I make a stealth check to try and lean against the wall, listening?
No, if only because Misato kind of blocks your path as she sees you kind of looking over to them, and kind of slides her way. I would say it's akin to sliding her way into your DMs, with the kind of energy she kind of approaches you with. So, Asuka, it's been a while. Are you alright? How have you been? Any cute boys you want to tell me about?
Those are 4 separate questions. Can we tackle them one at a time?
Yes. How have you been?
Eh.
What's been going on in your life?
Puberty.
Aren't you 19?
Yeah.
She looks like she's... You can, hear the gears turning in her head for a minute as she's, trying to process all this, and she's just like... Why haven't you grown any?
Do you want me to show you my spear?
Oh, I can see it just fine. I hear you're going to be training with us to help defend the city as one of the knights. The honor guard, was it?
Sure.
Your father didn't really tell you much at all, did he?
If he did, I wasn't listening.
That's fair enough. I wouldn't want to listen to him either. In that case, then, well, let's get you up to speed. She kind of guides you over to the a side room to, you know how like in Skyrim and Windhelm's Hall, there's like that side room where the mages are and the battle planning and yada yada yada.
Yeah?
She leads you into a side room very similar to that one, and kind of starts going over maps with you, things that have been happening in the area. Very vague, strange occurrences, but it's mostly things like petty thieves being spotted in this part of the city, bandits in that one, reports of disease they're sending medics out to, or famines affecting the far reaches of the land, nearer to the end of the world. Um, this is the command room. It's not much, but you'll see a couple people in here. Let's see. She kind of turns back around to the hall beforehand and points out a few people along the way. Let's see. Um, that's Maya. That's Ritsuko. I believe you've met her before. Let's see. Shindo. She kind of, goes along prattling off people's names, prattling off things that you probably won't remember too much. And it's at this point that it kind of sets in that this is going to be your new home. Um, there's a part of you that wonders, and another part that understands that you're probably not going back. This is what your life is going to be now. Unfamiliar walls, unfamiliar food, unfamiliar people.
Familiar ceilings?
Yeah. Um, what's going through Asuka's head at this point?
So much that it's nothing.
Overload of information. An overload of emotions. How does it manifest on her figure, if at all? She like standing a little differently. Her expression.
Say that again, please.
How is her overwhelming emotions kind of manifesting on her? Is it just kind of like her expression, the way she's holding herself, yada yada yada?
Like that.
Fair enough. Um, at her obvious discomfort, Misato looks like she wants to say something for a moment. But she's interrupted quickly by Alex kind of entering the room again, and a equally short, though slightly taller than you, only by an inch or two, boy with dark brown hair, blue eyes, and a thin, timid frame greets you. Ah, there you are. Asuka, this is Shinji Ikari. He'll be your companion for a lot of your trainings. We had an extra recruit slot, so he's the one who filled it. Much to the commander's requests, I assure you, he's a capable warrior most of the time.
Doesn't...
Say again?
Doesn't look like much.
You see him kind of shrivel up on himself a little more. Um, and Alex pipes up. Yeah, well, neither do I, and I'm the king's son, so appearances aren't everything, Asuka. You should know that, short stack.
You aren't much.
Shinji kind of takes a moment, brings himself forward, and seems conflicted between offering a handshake or a bow before just defaulting to a deep bow in front of you. My name is Shinji Yukari. Please take good care of me.
That is not how how I expected you to phrase that.
He kind of lifts his head up.
Forget it.
He seems very anxious. We should... he looks like he's just gathering more anxiety. And eventually Alex kind of comes behind him and paps his back pretty hard to kind of shake him out of his stupor.
Don't
you guys
kill
should
him.
He'll be fine. He's tougher than you think. Speaking of, you two should begin training together soon. Bad things are always closer than they seem.
That's ominous. What do you know?
I didn't mean it like that. He kind of like waves his hand. His hands just...
That doesn't tell me anything.
No, I just mean that it's better to be prepared, you know?
For what?
You're knights. We all are. Battle. My father didn't gain this title by sitting idly and doing nothing.
Alex,
What?
that doesn't tell me a thing.
He kind of walks over to the map, points at various marked sectors, marked flagged things. All of these are minor problems, but they're things that need to be done. If these people are hurt, then the entire kingdom will suffer. It's better to help people where we can, don't you think?
Sure.
Well then, I'll let you get some rest. He kind of has taken your case in his hands. God knows where he got it from, probably grabbed it along with when he grabbed Shinji, and shows you to a room in the castle. You quickly discover it's not too far. In fact, it's the next door down from Shinji's, much to your dismay. And
You don't know that.
Risato's is also fairly close by. It's a bunk quarters of sorts. It's not quite a, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not quite a crew quarters. You each have your own individual rooms. It's more like an officer's quarters in that regard, I suppose. But they're all fairly small. There's a communal area for small amounts of cooking, etc. But generally, this wing of the castle is yours. Small house. And that is where we will end it. You have just moved to a new city, made new friends, met old ones, and you will begin your training, or your continued training at this location. That's it. Yay!
Yeah.